result of this wanton destruction of property is Parliament says, well, look, we feel we've got over backwards. You said you didn't want taxes, we repealed the internal taxes. You said you didn't want external taxes, we figured out a way to tax you externally. We have the power to tax. We've now taxed you in a way that makes the product cheaper, and still you destroyed it. Clearly, you are the ungovernable people that we always thought you were. And so now you'll only know order, you'll only know power, you know coercive strength. And the result is the coercive acts of 1774, the colonists called them intolerant. No, the Parliament wasn't hiding it either. They called them coercive. They said, we're going to coerce you into obedience. And the coercive acts, it's four in total. There was a kind of a fifth act that's not part of them. The colonists talked about it. So the first of the four coercive acts is called the Boston Port. And what it does is it shuts down the port of Boston. It says, you cannot reopen this port until all the tea is paid for. This is like shutting down whatever the biggest sector of the economy is in the region we're living. It's like it was shut down until further notice. It throws out of work half the city of Boston. Of course, since the biggest source of their income is from the port, how are they going to pay that if they don't have the port? It's a shocking thing to people. The second act is called the Administration of Justice Act. And what the Administration of Justice Act said is that if you violate these laws of the British Empire, you can be tried in what's known as an admiralty court, the court of the Navy. Now, the people of Boston called it the murder because back when the Boston Massacre happened, they had been able to try the soldiers who had done the shooting in a civilian court overseen by the province of Massachusetts. Now, interestingly, the soldiers were acquitted because it was seen that their lives were under duress. But the point was that the British soldiers who shot at them had been tried in civilian courts, and the people of Massachusetts could determine whether or not they were guilty. When the Administration of Justice Act was saying, well, now what they're saying is if this happens again, it'll be a British Navy court. And they're just going to let the wrong people go. That's why we call it the Murder Act. They're basically saying civilians won't be able to punish atrocities against them. And the third close event is called the Massachusetts government. I won't get into the complexity of it, but essentially what it does is it forcibly amends the Massachusetts colonial charter, changes it, further beefing up the royal government. And what this is seen as a horrifying thing because, like every colony, the people of Massachusetts felt that their charter, the front of their colony, was a guarantee of rights. And the Parliament was saying, actually, we can change that whenever we want. They're literally not worth the paper that they do. And the fourth one was a quartering act, which was much stronger than the 1765 quartering act, in which for the first time did say that if colonists did not provide barracks to quarter troops, they could be quartered in private homes. So these are seen as simply passing laws to eradicate British liberty. But let's note something. None of those laws I just described are meant to raise money. They're not taxes. They're all meant to govern behavior. They're legislation, which is what the colonists have always said Parliament does have. For the first time, the colonists equity was changing their conception of their relationship with England. Because now they're saying, well, wait a second. It turns out that the power we always thought we could save with the power to legislate, is more dangerous than the power to tax. We actually can't successfully allow them to legislate for us because it turns out they can actually think they can pass laws that would legislate away fundamental natural laws and liberties. We can't allow them. Well, you've already said they can't tax, and now you're saying they can't legislate. They can't do anything, and that's independence. And what they stumble into as a result of the coercive acts, here's where it's the point of real return. Here they say, well, wait, we can't safely allow Parliament to govern us in any area over anything. Our British liberty we care so deeply about is actually threatened much more by Britain than by any French enemy. And the only way to preserve, oddly enough, our own sense of our own British liberty is to separate from Britain, which has now become the biggest threat to British liberty. I think it's almost impossible to imagine. They'll try. They still would rather find some kind of peaceful settlement, and they try in 1774 and 75 to work it out. But after the coercive acts, it's the colonists who are now altering what they want. Where they're now saying, we can't let any of the authority be the ones that did it. The only way we could stay in the empire is if we had a fundamental transformation of how we understood. And that makes them much, much closer to thinking of the empire as not safe.